All right. Hello there, everyone. Happy Friday, and I hope you all are doing well. Welcome to another Friday night with Hatter. Tonight I'm going to be doing a little detail up work on this old Easy 8 kit from before the high grade days, before the Empire. Hope everyone's doing all right. Hope my audio is okay. So yeah, earlier this week I was doing some Gunpla work on my big Zaku 2 project that I'm working on, and this Easy 8 is actually part of a diorama that I'm putting together that has nothing to do with that. Because as you all know, I like to juggle projects like I juggle drinks. So all that in mind is, all the tools that I was using for the Zaku are still out. I've got my hobby knife, got my needle inside of a mechanical pencil for marking up, files for smoothing out any mistakes. Sometimes I like to use a pin to widen up some of these panel lines. I don't even know exactly what this tool is. I think it came in an Art Snacks box that I got. I think it's like some kind of sculpting tool, but I was like, you know what? I bet that can scribe some awesome panel lines. I have this scribing tool, but I really don't like it. I feel like I don't have nearly as much control as I do with something like this. And then sometimes I like to use this little guy, which is it's a tool for removing splinters. It just depends on the width of the panel line that I am working on. So anyway, I hope my audio's doing all right. Got a little music in the background, which is, unusual for me. So, the first thing you'll probably notice is that this Easy 8 is missing an arm. I've been tinkering with this little piece. I had an extra poly cap, and so I figured it'd be nice to have a busted joint from where the Easy 8 rips its arm off in that final epic battle with Norris Packard. So I'll probably end up using a little more of this wire, fray it out a little bit, and kind of glue it all over to make it look a little more mechanical. All that is to say is that eventually I've still got the original arm here, and so if I want to display the completed Easy 8, it's just a matter of swapping on the finished arm or putting on the busted nub for the diorama. Some things that I did. I mean, this kit is obviously super old. I've only messed with it a little since I was a teenager, and back then, one of the things that I did was got inside this chest plate here, and comes off for no reason. You sneeze at it wrong, and it'll come off. So I did paint and sort of weather the inside of this chest cavity. Of course, you can also see how terrible I was at removing nub marks back then, which is to say I barely did remove nub marks at all. So I'm hoping I can just keep this detail because I really like how this turned out. So hopefully that'll be intact. Now, I don't like to go too crazy when it comes to panel lining. For one thing, I'm not very confident in my work anyway, so until I get to that level, I'd rather not do anything that's too crazy. In addition, it's just not really my aesthetic. I really like simplistic robots. I'm not a big Michael Bay fan, if you will. Let's get in here, see if I can smooth up some of these old, terrible nub marks. If I can avoid it, I want to try and get away with working on this project without having to paint too much. I mean, after all, I'm not changing the colors of these mobile suits. I'm kind of keeping them true to their original appearance. Which, to that end, here's the goof that I've made a lot more progress on. This one, since I have a second goof custom, I have one of the newer high grades. This is the older, I guess you'd call it fair grade or no grade. I didn't mind cutting off a chunk of his pipe here. I probably need to kind of melt this down a little bit and give it a little more flex. But one of the many things that I do, or well, that I like to do, is to use some phosphorescent paint to get that sweet glow effect in the parts. I'm probably going to do that with the Easy 8 as well. Get in there with some of the red paint for the eyes, just to get that cheap glow effect without having to use LEDs. Although, I do have a plan for some LED action here soon. I won't divulge what project that's going to be employed upon, but just to tease that out. See here on these foot plates, it looks like I went in there with kind of a silver Sharpie and tried to detail up some stuff. I will probably end up retouching that. If you look below the skirt, I did some painting in there. Not very good painting. So for my point, or for my purposes, I'm going to be looking for just, minor opportunities to add a little detail here and there. Like I said, I don't like to go overboard with it. I might try and mirror this panel line on the backside, even though technically this panel line is supposed to be from where the beam saber comes out. But, might want to add some lines to the thigh here. Let's maybe add like a little, just a little something here. But all in all, it's actually a fairly well detailed kit for what it was, for its time, we should say. If anything, the backpack looks like it could probably use the most love, since it's pretty plain. I'd like to get in here with some plastic cement, see if I can seal up some of these lines. Don't have a lot left though. So yeah, that's going to look a lot better if I do seal it up. going to be kind of sloppy with it here. I am going to sand it down once it is sealed up. And I'm not too concerned if it gets a little dirty because I'm going to be weathering the heck out of this guy anyway. And I'm not really big on weathering. If you've seen the Gunpla that I have finished, I don't weather too hard. My weathering technique is to just kind of create a little bit of extra gradation from the corners to the outside. Press pretty firmly on that. Yeah, just looking for opportunities here. Interesting. So, unlike the newer high grades, what you find with these older kits is that the polycap parts are a lot more integral to holding the kit together, which is a good and a bad thing because, I mean, let's see if I can find a good example nearby. Say, for instance, we're looking at this high-grade Zaku 2. Well, all I did was give that polycap a little tug, and the entire leg pops off. Now, maybe you like that. For me, it's nice knowing that this is solid because there's a plastic peg from the leg into the interior of the polycap. So it makes this joint a lot stronger, but it limits your customization because, say, for instance, if I'm going to panel line this guy, I don't know that I can. Well, if I separate this piece here. So yeah, if I separate this piece and then plastic cement them together, he is never going to come apart. Which in this case is going to be a good thing, but you know, just something to be aware of with these older kits. Oh man. That peg in the leg is really in there. There we go. So yeah, I will surely run out of cement before I can seal up all of the parts on this kit. But that's okay because I'm probably not going to get too far into it tonight. I mean, there's so much to do. But I definitely want these parts sealed up and smooth before I start adding panel lines. Sometimes I like to take advantage of the seam lines that are there and kind of pretend that they're panel lines, but then the problem is I can't get in there with a panel line marker or ink to... Cat hair on this. Yeah, I can't get in there with a marker or ink to actually add that detail. There's somewhere around here I have a clamp I should be using. dry up. But yeah, I don't want to do anything with the shoulders, I think, since I'm going to want to put some decals on this guy. Interesting. Where's that click coming from? Now this here, I think, is probably an easy. We definitely want to reinforce this panel line. It's very soft. I'm just going to trace over this crease. Hey, what's going on, Calvin? You know, I have heard that the real grade crossbone kits are actually pretty sweet. I could never get into the crossbone aesthetic myself, but I can appreciate it. Now, are you just building your crossbone, or are you customizing it at all? I kind of wish there was a Bob Ross of customizing Gunpla. Just a real calming. Alright, we're going to put a little line right there. A happy little panel line. Fair enough. Fair enough. I am not super dismissive of super robot designs, as I know some folks are. But I tend to prefer. I don't know what the inverse of super robot design is, because it's like, you know, a lot of people say like grounded or realistic, and I just don't think that that's when you're talking about giant robots, realistic should never be a word that comes out of your mouth, right? Yeah, maybe that's my calling, is to be the Bob Ross of Gunpla. So now that I've got some decent guides in there, I think I can go over this part with my sort of hooked. I guess you'd call this some kind of pin vise? I don't know. It's a sculpting tool. If I knew what it was called, I would buy a bunch of them on Amazon. But alas, I do not. All I know is that it makes good, thick panel lines. Yeah, there you go. I would say, militaristic or functional. Those are good alternative alternatives to realistic. One of the other reasons that I like thick panel lines is that it's easier to hide your mistakes if you go over the same line enough times to straighten it out. Yeah, exactly. I think you're right. Militaristic is probably not the right term. Scrape some of this paint off here. See if this guy's dried yet. He seems good. See if we can get Yeah, you're right, Calvin. I think it shouldn't be an either or because it's not necessarily the exact opposite. I mean, theoretically, you could have a militaristic super robot, right? Like I said, I just don't like the way that people throw around the term super robot dismissively. Really, I don't like any term that's used dismissively. Man, I don't know if it's just the fact that the part was dirty, but like that seam line doesn't want to go away. Get in there with the yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think super robots are cool. They're not my personal favorite, but not gonna shit on anybody who feels differently. And I low key do like the way that the crossbone has the like crossbone wings on the back that flip out. I mean, it's sweet looking. Not gonna lie. Might just kind of roughen this guy up all around. Probably make scribing in the panel lines a little easier. will... Oh, lost my super glue. Might get in here with some 1200 grit sandpaper. To buff this guy out. Yeah, the X-shaped thruster on the back actually does make a lot of sense from a design standpoint, like if it were, quote unquote realistic, but yeah, I mean, it's just a sweet mobile suit in general. That's a little smoothed out. Now, see if I can use some of my old tricks to make this work. So, in a situation like this where I can't measure per se, I like to use some kind of, since I'm going to have to repeat the process on the opposite leg, I like to try and find some landmarks that I can use to make sure that I place the panel line in the same spot. Let's see where... And if I really can't get this this seam line to go away, then I might have to rely on it as a panel line itself. In which case, I think I wrap it around sort of around the middle, and then when it hits the center here, come down the side. I think that could be pretty sweet. Now, the question is finding a good way of measuring that point. So if I sandwich the old razor here in between the kneecap and the thigh, place the blade of my hobby knife against the plastic, create my template line. It's not exactly where I drew it, a little bit lower, but at least when I switch to the other side, I'll have an easy guide. So that'll cover around the corner there. And then, since I'm going to have it meet up with this joint here, I'm just going to roll, well, because if I roll it exactly where the joint is, it's going to look a little wonky. Let's try. a little electrical tape here. Honestly, it's getting in my way. So I'm not sure how I'm going to mark that middle point reliably. Maybe if I use the tape this way. Probably need something a little stickier than electrical tape, to be honest. See, that's what I was afraid of, slipping out of the groove right there. Now I have a solid pivot point. Just wedge my blade in there to create another track to trace. Close this little gap here where the back of the knee meets. Yeah, so see, it's just a minor touch, and I think I mean, that's really all I want to add is like a tiny little added detail. And who knows, I might decide to go a little crazy and add some of these detail effect parts. Now, me being the frugal person I am, I bought a set of these detail effect parts, you know, things like these little vents and such, and made an Oyumaru mold of a bunch of them. So now I have quite a few copies of those detail parts, and so I don't feel bad about using them on as many kits as I possibly can. So far, that's been the most efficient use of Oyumaru and silicone copying, for me at least, when it comes to Gunpla, is just copying like detail effect parts and like hand parts. Things that, those little accessory parts, they add up quick, right? Obviously, if you buy a ton of kits, that's going to be expensive. But let's say you just want a couple of radomes. Finding the right radome and then having to buy a whole new set of radomes every time you want to use that same radome can get annoying. And if you're anything like me, you are something of a perfectionist. I know it doesn't seem like it with like how often I boomer my own streams and how often I screw things up, but a lot of that comes down to the fact that I don't practice a lot of things because I am afraid to screw up. And so I end up not doing anything at all, and that's not good. So a good whole reason that I started this YouTube channel and this content creation journey, if you will, was specifically to force myself out of my own comfort zone and force myself to take some chances. And I hope that I have encouraged other people to do the same. Hey Wolf, good to see you. I am currently working on a no-grade Gundam EZ8 that I built when I was a teenager. And I've decided to go back and create this little diorama of everybody's favorite battle scene. I'll make sure that I'm lining up these lines just right. That's weird. There's a strange little gap. That's gonna be my line there. Better or worse, we'll see how it goes. Hey Mike, how's it going? Hello to you. from the sunny state of Virginia. Well, that's an exciting kit there, Wolf. That was nice of them to get you a little birthday kit to put together. Now I always forget, is the Banshee the one with the claw, or is the Banshee Norn the one with the claw? Because I always tend to mess that up. I always get them backwards. Well, I didn't go quite to the center. I think that's probably. Probably a millimeter further. There we go. And then I will line up my corner like I did on the other one. Beautiful. I dare say I did a much better job on this one than I did on the first leg. Let's hope I didn't just jinx myself. We're up there. Yeah, see, I think you were right about that, Wolf. And in here with my fancy tool. I'm honestly not even really pressing hard on this because I don't want to screw up. Alright. I lined these up pretty well. Especially considering I didn't use a ruler or any tape. Just freehanding it. Up a bit. Clear the Huh, that's the weirdest thing. Sounds like there is a bird literally above me. Alright. I suppose I could go ahead and mirror that to the other side. I think I'm going to go ahead and do that. It's an easy free bit of detail. Get a nice straight line there, hopefully. Although it might be easier if I had a give me just a moment. I have this little set of mini saws. I think that will work a lot nicer for cutting a straight line. Excuse me. And yeah, I think that's going to cut a much straighter line than my knife. I just have to make sure to not, saw too deeply. But yeah, it's just a nice longer straight edge. Oh yeah, that's great. I don't know why I didn't think of this sooner. This actually works a lot better to get those straight edges than my hobby knife did. Clean up my lines a bit. Clear that out. Clear that out. I think where they meet on the corner is a little janky looking. Again, that is the advantage of nice, deep, bold panel lines, is that when you screw up, you can just give it a little sanding. Sorry about that. The missus is texting. Just gonna rock the knife on here. I think one whole blade length is actually dead center to where the ball joint meets. So, gonna make our little template. Get in here with our needle, start tracing. A little lump. I'm sure all you pro builders out there are just cringing at my techniques. And that's okay. You're entitled to that. Pulling this up a bit. All right. Like a little snag that I keep hitting here, and I don't want to fly off my little carved track. It's probably time for me to go ahead and place my corner line. Looks pretty solid. I think that's a decent gouge of plastic there. I probably won't hang out too much longer just because I'm sure watching me do this in real time is boring. But hopefully you got an idea for my process or lack thereof. Hopefully you're getting some sweet sanding ASMR. Nope. Get in there with my big tool. Get in there. Very nice. And now to repeat the whole thing again. Get a nice straight line there. Oh, hey, Coop. Come here, Bubby. There's no cameras on me. Hi, Coopy. Mwah. Oh, thank you, Bubby. What are you doing? What are you doing, Coop? You gonna help? What's that? What's up there? Look at my hand. Thank you, Bubs. My wife was so kind as to bring me a beverage. Now you know I'm gonna wrap up soon because Lord knows halfway into this glass my lines are gonna get way less straight, as if they were, perfectly straight lines to begin with. Right. Plus, with each sip of my drink, the likelihood of me slicing off one of the tips of my fingers while I'm doing this goes up by at least 15%. Yeah, Wolf, I don't know if you can tell how much dog fur got on my hands from petting Coop. Give that a night. Cool. Twist. And we can gouge out some more plastic here. Man. Gotta be very deliberate about laying out these little tracks to drag your chisel through. Alright. Let's make sure that I got those lined up. It looks like I need to go a few more millimeters down. Probably took about here. And to be honest, limbs I'm less concerned with getting 100% dead on symmetrical because let's face it, you're never really gonna see them at the same time. I mean, you'll see them from the front, I guess, or like, you know, from certain angles, but it's not the same as say like got my example here. It's not the same as say, for example, this Saku 2 chest piece. let's get in here. So with this Zaku too, you know, like I had to get those lines really lined up, as well as the extra panels I placed on there. But limbs, you're never going to see these from the same angle. Although I will say that I probably got them pretty darn good. And again, could I be measuring these? Probably should be. Place our line in here. And that looks pretty close, if I don't say so myself. And again, if I were at the level where I'm like entering competitions and stuff, I might actually take care to make these things perfect. But as I am still fairly pretty much a novice at this whole process, I'm just trying to kind of build my confidence in carving these lines so that when I move on to bigger and better projects, I'm not so squeamish about cutting up the plastic. And I think it's still going to look pretty darn good when it's on my shelf, so it's not like I hate the end results. And that's what it's all about. It's like, if you like it, then who cares? Now, if you're going to try and, like, win the Gunpla Builders World Cup, obviously, you're not going to want to do what I'm doing here. You're going to want to, like, be much more precise and much more measured with your cuts, but I mean, that ain't bad. Still need to clean them up a little bit, get all the little filings out from inside the crevices, which is another advantage of going with, you know, the thicker, more pronounced lines. They're easier to clean out. Let's see. I think by now our torso is probably completely dry from the liquid cement. Oh man, these are incredibly tight joints in the chest piece. I mean, it's sweet that they even, again, you know, for this being like a no-grade Gunpla, the fact that they designed the chest plate to swing out like that and reveal a bunch of armor on the inside is pretty incredible. with the thicker file, see if we can't clean this up a little bit. Fix this gouged up seam line that I left. That's the other cool thing about going back and doing these projects with kits that I built when I was much younger is that it's also kind of fun to try and undo the mistakes that I did. I mean, obviously, it's better to make no mistakes at all, but if you are like me and you have made mistakes, hopefully you're seeing some clever ways of masking them. I think I need a different sanding stick to get finer grit. I think this will be the guy. There we go. Not even sure what grit we're looking at here. But this is definitely more of like a buff and polish stick than a legit sanding stick. And there we go. That looks a whole lot cleaner than when we started. Alright, and I think that is probably where I'm going to call it. Like I said, I don't want to bore you guys too much, but getting into the process of, streaming every Friday, getting a little bit more disciplined about it, and hopefully making some more progress becoming a master builder. But thank you guys so much for tuning in and hanging out with me. Sorry if I was a little slow responding to the chat. I need to get my chat window up here on my desk so that I can actually see it and not off screen behind me. But I hope you guys have an awesome weekend, and pour yourselves a drink on me if you are of age in your locality, of course. So yeah, I'm going to be heading out here, and I will be back next week. Hopefully I'm going to be dropping some videos between then and now as well. And um, yeah, next week we'll be back to some video gaming. Take care, Wolf. Thanks for tuning in. All right. Catch you later, guys.